You are watching the Fayetteville Government Channel. Up next, full coverage of the latest meeting of the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods. The Council of Neighborhoods is composed of citizen volunteers and meets on the last Thursday of each month. The Council of Neighborhoods provides a forum for neighborhood associations to share information, concerns, and ideas, and provides a mechanism to communicate with elected officials and governmental agencies. And now, the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods.
You're live. Well, welcome to the June 28th meeting of Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods. We'd like to get acquainted with who's here, different folks, and would you mind just giving your name and your affiliation?
My name's Alan Long. I'm with Waterman Woods POA.
John Jones. I'm with Off-Campus Connections at the University of Arkansas.
And I'm JP Peters with Clever Creek 2.
Don Connor, Root School Neighborhood Association.
Richard Russell, Jennings Plus Neighborhood Association.
Aubrey Shepard, Town Ranch Neighborhood Association.
Stan Lancaster of Jefferson Walker.
Julie McQuaid, Community Outreach Coordinator for the city.
And I'm Rhonda Allens, Ward 4, Position 1, City Council.
Well, we have a few things on our agenda here, and mine's lost. Here's another.
That'll work.
Old business. First item is discussion about the FCON-sponsored mayoral debate. I did a little research on this. The last time this happened was in '08, and I had a few questions myself. Some of you were there and a part of it. Miss Julie, you got some ideas about the info we need to collect? I'm sure we get questions.
Well, the first thing that I think, I'm glad we have a good attendance tonight because as city staff, I cannot be involved in the planning of this. It would be kind of a conflict of interest. All I can do is kind of help get the word out about what you're doing if you're collecting questions again like you did in the past. I know Don was pretty involved in the last one. JP, I don't remember if you were involved in 2008 with the debate or not. I know you were with the council one. But it takes members of the Council of Neighborhoods to actually pull that off, and so that's why I'm glad there's so many people here to decide who will do what.
Yeah, we should probably back it in from the election, which is held November 6th.
Traditionally, they're held in September, the debates that the Council of Neighborhoods hosts.
Okay, so then, in lieu of a regular monthly meeting, is that how we do it?
That's what we did last time.
It can be, yes. And that would be September 27th.
Yeah, which is about the right time.
It is. It was the 20th last time.
Yeah.
So that's 3 months away.
Yes.
Okay. Venue.
Julie, do you remember how we...
Actually, we have an alternative this time. We can use the City Council chambers.
Okay.
In fact, we've been asked if possible to use that because it reduces the amount of staff time and what it costs the city to put on the production.
Okay.
So we have, as long as that room is available on, and that actually happens to be the 4th Thursday, so I think we're probably okay. I will schedule it, or tentatively schedule it with City Council or the City Clerk tomorrow. But if you guys want to use room 219, that's the City Council chambers.
That would be much better, actually.
Yeah, that saves a lot in the planning, is to actually the venue's a lot of time.
Have any discussion of that? Anyone have a reason that idea doesn't seem good?
No, that's the right place to have it. It's got the most seating, and they generally bring in a good crowd. So
are you saying that it is open for that date, or you're going to?
It should be. I will confirm, but it should be.
Okay.
So it's not a turf issue like the home team or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And,
So especially with who's running.
We have two candidates, is that correct?
They all know where
at this
it is.
point, but I think there's still time. There's still time for somebody else to.
There could be several show up.
Right.
how many were there to start? Wait, about 6 or something.
There were 6 of them. Let's see, there was Eilers, Adam Firecat, there was, what was the girl's name?
Was it Sunny? I don't remember.
I would have remembered any other time. Okay, that's three.
Moores?
The university student.
Her name, the last name is Moores now.
Yeah, I don't know.
She got married. I know that, but I can't. And then, of course, there was Cootie, Jordan, and Steve Clark. So that was
There's 6.
That was around the candidates. Well, one thing I'd like to ask is, do we want to do the city council people at the same time with this, since we've got 4 wards coming up open?
That would be a long night.
It's going to be a big meeting.
There'd be a lot of extra stuff.
Now, last time at the mayoral debate, you allowed the people that were running for city council to just
speak.
give a statement,
Yeah.
a brief statement. You could do that without extending the length of the event too long if you wanted to do that again, or it'd be more work, but if you wanted to hold a separate one for city council, those are all options.
If we were to consider that, we'd probably be going back into August.
Yeah.
Or actually going forward into October,
Yeah.
which would probably be better, because by then we'll know everybody that's in there on that.
If you
When's
wanted
the filing date in? The filing date starts July 27th and it ends,
August the 10th, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So we'll know everybody that's in or out, middle of August.
I think you should probably discuss the amount of work that putting on 2 of those, because again, I will not be able to.
Yeah,
All I can do is kind of line up the venue for you
yeah.
and get the word out. The planning, the questions, all the rest of it is going to be on
Do you still have
your
our
membership.
banner?
I have your banner.
Okay.
Yes. So it
Does it
depends.
say mayoral debate? It does, doesn't it?
I don't remember. I think it does, because I think that's why we didn't use it at the last city council one.
Well, I'd like to move that we not do a city council debate, if I could. Anybody want to try to second that? Or?
you're moving that we don't do something?
Yeah, that we do not have a city council debate, we just have the mayoral debate.
But you want to add to that we allow council members to
City council perspective.
have a moment.
Yeah, candidates. They
2
can,
minutes or 3 minutes to
yeah, we'll have
express
them
whatever they
speak at the
choose.
mayoral debate. They can give them a slot of time, 5 minutes or less.
Yeah.
That they want to.
So, can I fool around with your motion a little bit? Can I?
Sure. Go for it.
Is this a motion that says we don't intend to have a formal council candidacy debate, but we would like to get acquainted with them in our other mayoral debate?
Yes.
I think I understand your motion now. You got a second on that? Stan? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by
Aye.
saying aye. Did that pass? People-
Opposed?
Joe, opposed?
Okay.
Sounds like it passes. All right. The next thing I think of is questions.
Dawn, do you want to address how the questions were done previously?
I think didn't we do those through the city website and then also
No.
take them up at the?
You collected them by email?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Can the
And-
city participate in that way?
No,
No,
that is
no.
definitely an area where I cannot. I did not even show up in the room when
We
you guys
put it up-
discussed
We
them.
put it up on all our listservs.
Yes, you
and-
sent out requests for people to
Yeah,
submit
soliciting-
ideas, and
soliciting
then
questions.
Then
a
the-
group
then
of
the
you
committee-
met
Yeah, the committee
and
chose
worked
which
out the
questions.
questions.
Yeah. We chose which questions would be used, and then we took questions right before, we let people submit questions right before the debate at the venue, and we selected those off the top as we had time. And there wasn't much time for that because there were so many candidates.
Right.
And we, right now, we don't know what we're gonna be dealing with there. You know, there could be 6 or 8, 10 candidates.
Right.
So, you know, nobody knows yet.
I know that, I think Joanne Cavani,
Cavani.
was out at Farmers Market, and you guys had, council members had a table and allowed people to submit questions out there to try to get, or at least issues that, you know, they thought should be discussed.
Yeah.
Or asked about.
Yeah,
We gave
That's
out
another
cards
option.
for everybody to write on, didn't we have like?
I think you did, yes.
Yeah, we printed out some cards.
Yeah, a half-page card or whatever for them to.
Yeah, well, actually, we printed out a full page with the duplicate on there and sliced them in half with a paper cutter. Which it worked, you know. We were able to do that and had people either email it back into us with their questions, or they just handed them to us at the next farmer's market so we could have them.
Right.
And as before, the people could remain anonymous as to who it was that submitted the question, because we really didn't care. And we had a committee of 2 people go through the questions and just try to, you know, separate the wheat from the chaff, because there were some that was just, you know, rude questions or stupid questions.
Or some, I believe, I remember there was a discussion about some of them were very pointed towards a specific,
some
and
of them were pointed towards
to make it a
specific
good debate,
right.
They removed that.
Right, and,
yes.
and it wasn't generalized enough for anybody else to answer except for 1 or 2 of the people.
Right.
So we, you know, we haven't filtered that. So I'm sure what we need to do is we'll need to have a committee that's willing to sit out there at Farmers Market and do that. And then of course we'll have to have all the membership notified that they need to ask questions by email. And we can also put it out, you know, on things like Fayetteville Flyer or whoever is willing to, or, you know, Ob Unique, or, you know, Sierra Club, put it through there, you know, to have them submit questions through there. And then we can just go through the stack of questions and get more than enough to take care of the project.
Yeah, it won't be a problem having enough questions, I don't imagine.
I wouldn't expect too many submissions until it's closer, till people really start to see who the candidates are going to be.
And we'll have to work on trying to get Kyle Kellums again to moderate.
Do you want to get Kyle?
If we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can't be.
Aubrey, would you be willing to expose your journalistic flank here and be some sort of a resource to go to submit questions?
I would be happy.
In any of your blog cosmos that you maintain?
Well, we can put, that's one of the sources where people can submit things.
Well, that's an enormous resource. And
so I will certainly be involved in that.
would anyone else have other suggestions that seem sensible of how to gather questions over time for this debate?
Well, I think each of us, if we do have homeowners association meetings, or we can share the information with them at that time, and you know, get questions, obtain questions from them at that time. I know ours doesn't meet that many times throughout the year, but if there's any activities in your neighborhood, you know, that would lend itself to.
You know, just put it out on the listserv. Everybody that you've got on your listservs, you know, I mean.
Plus, the warm bodies that are here this meeting and the next couple of meetings, if you take responsibility for the folks you see and the folks you have conversations with, solicit questions, and if we have an easy way of doing that, jot them down on a piece of paper.
Well, you know, it'll be easy to get the questions. You know, we won't have any trouble with that. We put it out on our listserv, and we'll have more questions than we know what to do with in a heartbeat. And then also submitting at Farmers Market, that'll generate dozens of questions. And if we were to put it out on some of the social media, you know, we could institute a little Facebook thing for the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods for the mayoral debate.
You have a Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods
Facebook page.
Yes, and you can
That
ask for them on
That
there.
we don't really use all that much for some strange reason.
Are you literate in that
Yeah.
way, Don?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Sounds like you're almost ready to volunteer. to get
Dawn, I can
involved
make you
in
an
that way.
admin of that page if you want.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll just put it out that way on the Facebook part, and you know I'll get in touch with the Fayetteville Flyer, and there have to be at least a couple of us on this committee to gather and sift questions,
That'll be,
and we can have a separate committee,
we've got a nice
a
hot
sister
summer.
committee and a question gathering committee. You know,
We've got a nice hot
hunter-gatherers.
summer started here, so I imagine the questions will be burning right along. I visualize, settling on a few questions to make the program worthwhile. We would have like an enormous basket of questions that maybe there's some other use for it as well. We won't be able to talk everything that comes up, but questions is input as far as I'm concerned, and I'm always interested in that,
Well,
what
and
people are thinking.
The questions do also give us some more info for things that people are concerned about in the community that we need to talk about here in Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods. So, there are lots of agenda items can come up, things that are bothering people and that they want discussed by the mayors, mayoral candidates as well as the mayor himself. So.
Okay, so we've got a volunteer to solicit questions. We have 2 volunteers to solicit questions.
Aubrey and I can hunt and gather.
Everyone else here is gently deputized to start talking these questions around people you see and hear from. And any that you gather, be glad to take them. If they're like written on a piece of paper, I'll be glad to keep track of them in the meantime.
We don't have to have a sifting committee yet.
Right. I'm thinking the sifting committee, and the last time around, did you advise the debater people what the questions were?
No.
No,
They knew what they were anyway, didn't they?
not all of them,
Uh-uh.
no. I think there were some that were expected and then some that were kind of a surprise, I think.
There were a lot of surprise questions.
Well, I don't personally see any advantage to surprising people at a debate with questions. I mean, it's okay with me if they know what the questions are.
Can I make a suggestion that you come up with a small subcommittee of members by the August meeting that will do the sifting or the evaluating the questions?
Next meeting, we need to come up with a committee that'll do the
Well, the
sifting.
next meeting's July.
Right,
So, but by August, because you're not going to have, that'll give them a month
yeah.
to do that.
But
But if you start really,
we did a lot of research last time and came up with the fact that it's best not to let the candidates know what the questions are, because then they can't take off the top of their head and answer them. They'll have plenty of research time and you'll get the same crap out of all of them. And this also lets us know whether they know what's going on or not. And it worked very well. It worked very well having them not know what the questions are, because there were a couple of ringers in there that came up with interesting answers because of it.
And the League of Women Voters usually has a forum, candidate forum as well, and they never divulge their questions.
Yeah,
that is pretty normal.
I mean, it would be good. I mean, if I was on that side, I would have.
Right, absolutely.
And if it's possible, it would be nice to get together with the League of Women Voters and do this at the same time with both groups.
But you want me to
But-
facilitate that?
I don't know.
I'm with the league.
Let's have I think we ought to kind of, somebody put a motion before and see if we want to do that.
Are you saying did the league do the oral debate last
Yeah,
time?
they did a separate
Yeah,
one.
right.
Okay, so,
Are you planning
And those
one?
running for city council as well.
as well.
Yeah.
Are you planning those events this time around?
Yes, we do it every time.
I don't know that we would want to reduce the number of mayoral debates by doing it as a combined. That would make it easy, I suppose, because we wouldn't have to, but.
And I don't know how receptive they are to that idea, but we've always done our own debates, so.
I think
yeah,
we should
I can
leave that
certainly bring it to
alone.
the board, though.
Because the League of Women Voters is very
Right.
seasoned in
Alan, do you
doing
have a
this.
comment?
Well, I'd just like to add that, you know, there might be a lot of topics to discuss during the mayoral debate, and if you restrict it to just one debate, then we might not have time to explore as many issues.
That's true.
That's true. Let's leave League of Women voters alone. Let them do their thing and we'll do our thing.
And we'll come
So-
to ask questions.
So
we've always done in
soliciting
the past.
questions from them is not essential to what we're doing if they're having their own, right?
Right.
What do you think?
Right.
It's worked as a separate deal all along. I don't know why I even mentioned it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'll backtrack
Still
and
hot.
forget that I talked about that.
Well, I could see us going ahead and agreeing on a committee so that we know who the players are. Sifting down through the questions, we could go ahead and think about 2 or 3 of us getting involved in that way. Go ahead and identify ourselves tonight, and so then we would.
You might have members of your neighborhood that would be interested in helping in that way also, so that the people in this room aren't doing all the work. That might, if you're interested
Yeah.
in considering that. I know that I saw Joanne Kavami last weekend at Farmers Market, and I think she was interested in helping out in some way.
Yeah, I talked to her the other day about that very thing.
Okay.
Yes, we've been there.
Well, okay, if we've got a Facebook event opening up, I don't know exactly what you call something that blooms in that medium and people start noticing it,
We just open up a page for it,
a page.
Yep.
invite them to that event.
If Aubrey does something colorful in his world, in
We
his
don't want to
blog,
be too colorful, but we'll do it.
Oh, it'll be plenty colorful.
so then by next meeting, we will have maybe identified some people and someone knows that they could be a question decider.
As well, as far
What do you
as
think?
the sifting process goes, I'll be happy to assist.
So can we solicit a little interest in that for this next month? And then try to remember to decide clearly about that next time.
Okay, so you're gonna try to name who the committee members are on the hunting and gathering, if you will?
Seems like it would be sensible to see if we have other people who want to get involved in that way, and then next month.
At the July meeting,
Next
there's
month.
time.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you get commitments from either a member of your neighborhood association, or if there's, yeah. And I would also recommend that you lock down the moderator by the
Yes.
July meeting.
Yeah, we have
Do you,
to.
I know Kyle is the first choice. Do you guys have a second or third choice that you
Let's
might want
ask-
to discuss, just in case?
Well, somebody can recommend one, but I suggest we ask you soon, so
Yes,
I'm willing
absolutely.
to do that.
Okay. I don't have anyone in mind, so we want someone who's
Well,
willing.
pretty much any of the radio or television people that want to get involved in it, you know, like the Northwest Arkansas version of the channel 40, 29, or 5, or whatever.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of people.
You know, there are plenty of people to do the moderator, but I mean, Kyle has worked very well for us, and
Yes, he has.
he's a real joy. I mean, because we, you know, listen to him on KUF all the time, he's pretty easy to live with too.
Well, while we're visualizing this debate, help me out here. Is this about an hour?
It's usually about 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2 hours last time.
Like 6 last time, and it was about 9 o'clock by the time we were getting out.
But a lot of that depends on how many candidates there are.
Yeah.
Well, true. But
If we have 6 again, clearly it's going to have to be 2.
Yeah, let's just assume it's gonna be 2 hours. If
Yeah.
it's done sooner, then.
we're just sketching this
Yeah.
mostly to help me out,
Right.
because I'm not a smart man. So, okay, we've got about a 2-hour meeting, and we have X number of people who want to talk about their beliefs and intentions. And so we have 10 really good questions and 5 silly ones to break the ice. What do you think? How many issues can you look at in 2 hours?
Basically, last time we had quite a number of questions, and we had them in order of what the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods thought is importance on these. And then we had a time limitation on each candidate answering. We had a 3-minute time limitation. I gotta find out from Joanne where we borrowed those.
That light.
The light thing last time.
Yeah.
So you had some physical
Yeah, we
way
had-
of controlling them with a
Yeah,
bright
we
light?
it looks like a stoplight. You got a green, yellow, and a red, and you got somebody that pushes the button and holds it down, waits till the red, gives them 2 minutes of clear time, and then puts the yellow on for the last minute, flashes the yellow a few times at the very end, and turns on the red. And
Who gets to see this light? Just the candidate?
the candidates up there, right? Because it's faced toward them, it's not faced toward the audience.
Felt like 30 minutes, not 3.
Yeah. I think we gave the city council
Rhonda, were you in
the last
were you in
candidate.
the limelight, or?
2 years ago when the city council,
I think we gave them a little longer.
Yeah, we gave them longer. I think we gave them like 5 minutes at a shot, and it seemed like forever, didn't it? 5 minutes of coming up with something to say is.
only 2 of us had opponents, and so there were only 2 candidates being, in the debate. The other 2.
Yes, you were probably quite well.
Thank you. Not to have the answers in advance, the questions in advance, but
Right.
there is some merit in that.
Well, I thought I saw you smiling whenever I was suggesting that it would be kind to
Oh, yeah,
share the questions.
that'd be wonderful for
Well,
the
there
candidates.
are faculty members at the university who say, when you give the students 20 questions ahead of time and say, study the answers for these 20, I'm going to choose 10 of them. You'll get better answers. They'll be more thoughtful. They'll be more, they'll be more prepared. And so I think something like that might be a nice balance between a surprise and because it's hard to prepare for anything that someone might, ask. On the other hand, I understand the surprise effect. That's what I did, and it can be done. It can be done, but yeah, just some things to think about there.
It's a lot better with the surprise effect, because you really do find out a lot more about how much the candidate has been paying attention to the city politics and what's going on in the city and keeping their ear to the ground about what's happening. And when you're in the mayoral candidate group, these people know what's going on, and they should be able to answer most anything off the cuff. They've well studied it and they've been living with it, so I thought,
Well, okay,
I don't want to let them know what's going on.
we've got a good conversation started here, and I'm sure everyone will know what the major issues are by the time this all rolls around. Any questions about what you might be doing this month before next meeting?
I would say we're going to initiate the process of collecting.
I think we should go ahead and start collecting
our
our questions
and
getting it fired up on that.
We want to hear from you about questions that you'd like to submit to mayoral candidates
Right.
in our debate that we're going to have
I'll
on
look at
September
what we
27th.
had before on how we worded that, because I still got one of those flyers that we used, and we'll just do it the same way. It worked out very well.
You also had media sponsors last time. If you
Mhm.
have, if Kyle agrees, then of course KUAF is usually one.
Right.
But last time, Northwest Arkansas Times was a media sponsor. They ran just the ad about the forum a few days before, a larger display ad. So if one of you, want
And
to see
also
if they're
KFSM.
interested in that again.
Also KFSM, KNWA, and
Right.
whatever that other one is, KHBS, or what do they call themselves nowadays? But they all ran ads for us for the asking.
Right.
Yeah. They announced it for us, and it was well attended.
And that's just in the weeks or two before the actual event.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
But we
right.
don't have them asking people to submit questions. We do that through our own listservs and hunting and gathering methods. And we can start the ball on that and get it rolling and get ourselves a stack of questions. Because as it gets closer, the questions are going to change anyway. Because people will hear some answers of things that they already know about. And they'll want to know more about this, that, and the other.
Ms. Ronnie, you got-
Well, I was just gonna say, Aubrey, wouldn't the TV station be willing to make some CDs for members of you who wanted to see how it went in 2008? And it
Very
could be-
likely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know I went and got one in 2010 of the 2008 so that I could kind of be reminded of how it worked. And so, especially if you weren't there between now and August, if you went and got a CD,
yeah.
you could review how it was done and then maybe decide what ways you wanted to improve or change or do the same. Could be helpful for people who are planning it but didn't see it.
Right.
Yeah, we assume those are available and can be copied and provided, and can go on YouTube.
You wanna check about that?
I'll check on that and see if we can, they're not on the Granicus system or
And
anything
you can
like
hand
that.
deliver one to our chairman here.
Yes.
Well, I'm a big
I don't know if I
believer.
can make him watch it, but.
I'm a big believer in that it will be okay, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like last time. But I am interested in what went well and what didn't.
Yeah.
I know we've used the term debate, but last time the format was actually a forum.
Yes, it wasn't a real debate, it was a
Right, and I think
forum.
we need to clarify that.
Yeah.
If,
So that
when we're
word
getting to word out
debate-
which one you want it to be. The forum seemed to work well, and you seemed to be pleased with it last time.
Yeah,
But if that's the way you want to go again, that's
Well-
where watching that might help clarify the difference between a forum and a debate.
Well, I just looked on the agenda and I saw the word debate, so that's what I was using.
Yes,
Uh,
that was my fault.
If it's,
you
So-
misspoke.
Yes,
It's okay.
I mistyped.
so it's not a panel discussion.
No, they just the question comes up and the moderator keeps it so that not everybody gets first on any question. I mean, not the same
Right, you're
person.
rotated down.
It's handled so
When
that,
you've got, say for instance, you've got 4 candidates sitting there, the first one on the end gets to answer the first question, the second question goes to the second one, and it goes all the way through. The third one, it comes back around again. That way,
so it.
nobody's stuck with being the first person to answer the question on the forum.
I get it. So then the moderator is the person who asks the questions as well and has the Robert's Rules of Order handy in case things get out of hand.
Well, there's no real Robert's Rules of Order to
They
this one.
just,
There's no parliamentary procedure to
if
the
the
forum.
red light goes off and the candidate is still talking, the moderator kind of tries to keep them in
Then he
check.
has to
Or
still
shuts off their microphone.
Yeah.
So that's where our technician comes in.
comes in.
Okay. Well, you feel like we've had a pretty good discussion
Now-
here?
Doing it here, do the people that normally run the microphones and stuff, and I guess Fruit, would they be the usual people that they have at city council meetings?
Yes,
Okay, so
they'll be the government channel staff.
they would control the volume to the
Yes.
audience and all that sort of thing, and the rest of it's on
We would have professionals,
showing
yes.
up. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Okay, well, that's, that's good because that makes it a lot easier logistically for us
Right.
than it was actually over at the Episcopal Church, so, that's nice. Plus, we don't have to bring in chairs or arrange chairs because they're already there, which also be nice.
So I would suggest at this point we go ahead with the town and gown if everybody's happy, Mr. Chairman, because we've got, I believe, somebody that came particularly to maybe talk with us as a university.
Anything else you need to hash over on this one to start with, or we're just gonna run with it?
Well, I've got some deputies assigned tasks, so I'm happy with that.
We can
We're
do
gonna
this.
revisit it next month.
Okay.
Next agenda item is Fayetteville Town and Gown update.
Yes, if you picked up the packets, this is actually the agenda item that has been submitted to City Council to, we're asking that they establish the Fayetteville Town and Gown Advisory Committee. You'll see within the staff report what the proposed structure is. This is going to be discussed and decided, or discussed at the July 3rd City Council meeting. Hopefully decided if there aren't any issues that come up in the discussion. We gave them kind of an advance talking about what was coming forward to make sure that we weren't going in the wrong direction before giving them, so we didn't have to do a bunch of revisions at City Council. So hopefully this is what they gave us a few things to change. But what this is really focused on, obviously it establishes the structure of it. There will be 7 city staff seats that are appointed by the mayor, 7 University of Arkansas seats that are appointed by the chancellor, and then there are 7 community member seats. And the actual structure of those are listed on the 3rd page. One is one ward resident from each of the 4 wards, 1 member, either a Fayetteville business owner or a representative of the Fayetteville development community, and then 1 would be a university student living off campus within the city, and then 1 city council member will be appointed. I think the suggested term are 2 years. One amendment that was discussed at the agenda session that I would expect to be brought up at the City Council meeting is a term limit of 2 terms. That's not something that we had put in there initially. It was just an oversight. How we got to the structure?
Yeah, because this is no limit to the number of terms.
Right, and so that was something that our city attorney pointed out, and so I believe they will probably add that at the City Council meeting as an amendment.
How will the citizens at large be decided?
They will apply just like other city committees and boards. It will be, the city clerk's office will accept the applications. They will go through the nominating committee, just like all other city council appointed city boards and committees. That is what's being proposed.
Okay.
That's not necessarily
Yeah.
what's that's what's being proposed.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you have any other suggestions, I would contact your city council members and have them discuss that at the meeting. This is just what we were proposing. And it was based on the research that we did and feedback that actually we both attended the International Town and Gown Association Conference in early June. And I think learned a lot, and part of the structure came from talking to other towns and universities that
So
have
you've
a
seen
similar
it.
committee.
How well does it work?
I think the things that were emphasized to me quite a bit by the different groups was the fact that there were equal representation from the different groups, either whether it was just city and university or whether it was city, university, and community. The fact that one wasn't weighed heavier than the other. If it was a public or an official committee, then it was advisory. There were some town and gown committees that did not include community members, that were not a public, that did make more decisions, but those were usually some very small communities. I know Clemson.
Yeah, communities of our size, no.
Right. Theirs works very well. They don't have community members on it. They have city staff and university staff, but they have a very small community, very different from Fayetteville. So that was this, given that we wanted public meetings, we wanted it to be a public committee, we wanted community members to be on it. This seemed to be the structure that worked the best for the different organizations and communities that we talk to. Now, obviously, City Council can decide whatever they want, but this is what's being proposed at this point. And I believe if it is approved, the positions would be advertised and it would work into the next quarterly board and committee vacancies, which I believe they would be advertised for in July, maybe early August, and then reviewed, gone through the nominating committee, and then actually appointed in September. Would you like to add anything about what you guys learned at the conference?
I think I would agree with Julie that there's really not a lot of particular models out there that exactly resemble Fayetteville. Many communities are smaller, but there are several models that work, both with the informal committee as well as the formal city committee with the public participation. I think the biggest thing that I picked up on was that it has to be something that's definitely collaborative with equal participation, and it has to be something that all sides approach with an open mind and not a predetermined agenda going into the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I talked to, I found it really surprising that the groups that form, when these different town and gown committees that were successful actually formed, it was always when either the chancellor or the university president and the mayor were both either alumni of the university or hometown. They were both from there. And I think when one or the other wasn't what they felt like was their home, there wasn't that equal partnership. And I think, honestly, we've got that right now with Mayor Jordan and Chancellor Gerhardt. They are both very, very University of Arkansas and Fayetteville minded. So I think to make this initial partnership work, we've got the right leadership at least in place. Where it goes from there, that'll be determined.
Can I ask Mr. Jones a question? Did you come away with the feeling that these organizations, the town and gown committees, were actually able to change ordinances in the city to make things more compatible between the universities and the city?
Once again, I think that depends on the particular community. The model that I've seen where that has probably worked the best is Fort Collins, Colorado, and Colorado State University. They've actually been doing it for about 15 years, and they've made some significant changes to their ordinances in terms of over occupancy and particularly citations issued for noise violations, which has definitely curtailed some of the issues that they were experiencing by students living in the community.
Did you get the feeling that these collaborations made it to where it was easier for the university to kind of self-police the students, to make it a little easier for them to be part of the community?
I wouldn't say necessarily. Much of that is going to depend on the city's participation in that, because when you encounter issues that typically affect or that occur when students are living in communities, then there has to be one of two things: either strong incentives and education for students to not exhibit such behaviors, or some pretty stiff penalties and consequences. And I think if you get a good mixture of both education and consequences for negative behaviors in communities, then that's probably what works best, and which is why I'm particularly interested in Fort Collins and Colorado State, because I think that they do have a good measure of being proactive in educating both the university as well as the city, not only educating students, but anyone who's new in the Fort Collins community.
I agree. Actually, I talked to several groups, and that was another resounding thing that I heard, is that it was not just one effort. It wasn't just penalties. It was a holistic approach. We're the only ones that really were successful in changing behavior.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, what is our direction we're taking on this?
Well, I suppose that we are interested in knowing what the forum, what's their impression of this. Do you have any immediate reactions to it? Anything you don't like? Anything you do like?
I like it myself. You know, I really do, because I tend to think that if you've got a good, solid relationship between the university and the city, that they can kind of work within their boundaries, and the city can work within their boundaries, and make it to where we get rid of some of the problems that we're always encountering here in FCON. I mean, every year it's the same thing. You know, when the students move in, we got the too many of them, too many parties, da 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 da, and you know, we get the same issues come up at FCON all the time. And maybe something like this could be very proactive in.
I did forget one update. I brought information packets. We've actually been attending the freshman orientation. Mm-hmm. We have a 30-minute session. We've been giving them information packets about all kinds of different things coming on or going on in the community, including the Good Neighbor flyer. And I've been meeting with them and talking to them, and we show them a video about just different things in Fayetteville. And I found, it's one of the breakout sessions, I found that a lot of the people that come to the sessions are actually the parents. Questions about occupancy, about lots of different things, transit, areas for students, where or what type of rentals. And of course, I always refer them to the off-campus connection. I said, because they're all incoming freshmen, they won't really need it till next year. I said, start with the off-campus connection. That's a great way for them to start finding out the information. And then, of course, offer my business card and follow up. And I go over the Good Neighbor flyer, actually pull it out. And, so I brought packets for all of you, so you can actually see what we're handing out.
Oh, good.
It's not all, you know, ordinances and boring stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
They actually get a library card, which is cool.
I think it's a pretty good packet.
It is. It is a good packet, and I think that is something that's not been done in the past. So we are doing that initial communication before they get here. They get that heads up about what's expected in this community for behavior. I make a joke about on the one side, you know, where it gives the basic guidelines for being a good neighbor. I explain to them that, you know, we think that's common sense, but I have a 20-year-old son, and it's not to people that age necessarily when they first get away from their parents. They usually get a kick out of that, and they agree. So it's just reminding them that there are things that they need to think about before they move into the community. And it's not, you know, being negative or restricted. It's just like, this is a heads up so that you prevent any issues. And I think having that communication is a great first step in preventing a lot of the things that the neighborhoods do encounter, because a lot of times it is just lack of knowledge. And unfortunately, then that first encounter, because they don't know, and it goes negative from there.
Yeah.
So we are, and I think this Town Again committee will definitely help further that. We're working really closely. I mean, the Off-Campus Connection has been working on expanding, and they're doing some great stuff to their programs. I'm really excited about what they're doing. So they are going to be great allies to the Council of Neighborhoods, I think.
Well, I don't suppose we have time to draft a resolution or anything like
Sure
that.
we do.
Well, I think it's very appropriate that this committee, if we all agree that we support this, that we say so at the city council in some form, that we support this effort.
Okay, so that's next Tuesday.
I think
That's
Alan
next
had-
Tuesday, yes.
Okay, you want to put it in motion for?
Well, let's have, Alan had something to say.
Well, I just wanted to point out what Julie was talking about this, that how much my neighborhood really appreciates all the work y'all put into this. We have a lot of hope into it, and we know all our people are supportive of it, and the mayor too, and so we're just really thankful that y'all have taken the concerns that we've had.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's finally coming together.
Well, I would say that I don't know if we need a formal resolution, but I think we could take a vote just saying that this group, if we all agree, or majority does, that we support this ordinance as it is written.
Well, with any amendments that come
That
up.
the council
Yeah.
chooses to add. We don't have any at this moment, I'm sure.
Did they mention how often they meet, or
Yeah.
what a quarter?
It says
Yeah.
quarterly. I know that the initial discussions have been starting out. The goal is a monthly, same as a lot of the city committees, same like the first Thursday of the month with a set place. I know that is the goal initially, but to write in that it has to be every month tends to be a little heavy when it's in city code, and so that's why they say no less than once a quarter. So they can meet more frequently than that, but that's just...
They're not forced to.
Right,
Yeah.
like for example, if they don't want to have a meeting in December because of the holidays or something, then they're not worried about meeting that requirement. Yes?
I have a quick question about the ordinance. I know that we discussed it, but I know in the agenda this session, Rhonda, y'all discussed the city administration that would be on it. And did y'all replace the code compliance section with community services altogether, or was that something that'll be brought up at the agenda session?
That was an amendment that was going to be brought up at the session, so we didn't have to refile everything.
I was just curious.
Yeah. And what he was talking about is one of the city seats is listed as development services / code compliance, and there was a suggestion, I believe it was from Alderman Teal Boudreaux, that it be community services, because that also encompasses staff over animal services in addition to code compliance and some of the other. So it was just expanding that, and that was just the suggestion.
Has there been any discussion of venue for meetings? Is that an issue? Is that,
That's probably not really an
No.
issue.
No, I think between the city and the university, there's definitely
They're
meeting
bound to be
space.
able to find a room.
Yeah.
I think they just discussed that they would be public meetings.
Yeah, I think that was,
well, it seems like that the intent would be to draw students into the conversation.
absolutely.
And I'm wondering where that best place might be.
Well, that's for them to figure out, whether they're gonna do it in the university hall over there, or, the student union, or whether they wanted to do it here in town.
There are some committees that rotate it. One time it's in the city building, the next time it's in the university. I think that'll be discussed. Once there's an actual ordinance adopted, then we'll look at the logistics.
Well, does anybody want to,
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we have a resolution to bring to the city council that they approve the town and gown ordinance.
As written,
Well,
with
as
further
written
amendments
with
as
the
they
other
see fit.
amendments hooked onto it that they'll come up with.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Say
Aye.
That passes. Does that mean we draw something up?
Yes. Don, do you want to wordsmith that and send it to me, and then I will send it out?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The next agenda item is regarding the Beauty Mark Award. We've had some discussion of that, a fresh idea for a suggestion for a Beauty Mark Award for the last couple meetings.
Well, actually, it's awards, right?
Yeah.
Are we still giving two? Okay.
Well, are we giving,
Because we had one for business and one for.
Business and residential.
Right,
but not necessarily at the same time of year,
right,
No.
right.
we were doing them with spring and fall or something.
Right.
I do want to, I was asked to make pass on a comment that there was a member of the Wilson Park Neighborhood Association that found the name of the award, Beauty Mark, offensive. I told her I would pass that on to you.
Did they elaborate on how that's offensive?
I think it, because it was, it implied something feminist or feminine, like a beauty mark,
Okay.
visual,
Well,
I don't know. That was kind of my impression. They didn't elaborate a lot.
Okay.
What was the history of coming up with that name and
Well-
historically?
Actually, Nancy Allen
Nancy Allen.
is the one that put this together. She, you know Nancy, I'm
Okay.
sure. Yeah. She got together with the newspaper and they came up with the funding to pay for this thing. And there was a committee, I guess this has been 10 years ago with FCON.
This is 9 years.
Is it 9 years?
It was
Okay.
2003.
Yeah, it was 2003, when, in our first year, when we started this, there was a committee that came up with the name Beauty Mark as what to call an award for the most beautification of a residential and a commercial establishment, you know, best improved, and it was, you know, how it was voted on and this sort of thing. And the newspaper funded the trophy. You know.
Which says beauty mark. It's
Which
a cast. It's a cast pewter
Yeah,
by Eugene Sargent, I believe, was the artist.
yeah.
So there's no real significance to that, the name itself. It's just one we came up with back then.
Right.
I had heard
So-
somebody refer to it years ago as an improvement to a site that was considered a blemish on the face of Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Like some of the places along College that have been significantly improved that have given the award. That was, I don't know if that came before or after. I just had heard somebody mention that.
I'm receptive to entertaining a different name for it if we so choose to do that.
Unless somebody can explain a real reason that beauty marks offensive.
I mean, we've already got the casting stuff to
We
make
got
them.
a piece of art of significance to,
So I'd hate to change the name and have to come up with the expense to,
Well, yeah, and I truly understand that, but I understand where the comment was coming from as well.
Sure.
do you
know,
see
and-
it? Do you see
Yeah,
what's wrong with it? I guess I
Well,
don't.
I don't know if I can really verbalize it, but I think it has to do basically as Julie described,
but
you know.
do you see
And I
it
guess
as
maybe
offensive?
some people are maybe super sensitive perhaps to some terms, but you do have a point, you know, if it's going to be very costly as far as, you know, coming up with another name and having the, you know, redesigning a new award and whatever, but
And I believe the
I'm
artist
open to the idea.
donated the design of the first one, and all that the FCON and the newspaper paid for was the actual casting. So you would also, you know, either have to pay an artist or get another, if you wanted something that was
Yeah.
done by a local artist.
I'd like to comment.
Please.
I think if we've gone 9 years, we've only had one complaint. I think we're doing a damn good job. We ought to stick with it. Because you're not going to find something else that's going to please everybody. Fayetteville has always been known for parsing words and splitting infinitives. So again, I don't think that what we're dealing with is a real issue. I just think it's, you know, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like what you're doing. And as I said, if we've had one complaint in 9 years, I think that's pretty good.
Well, let's keep it in mind that we've had the complaint, but it seems like it's most important that we search around for some ideas about what to reward with our award.
Right.
And that's been dragging in the dust. We haven't really, no one is enthusiastic about anything that's been going on lately. Probably thinks that if they won't burn the trees that they push down on Garland Avenue, then that would be beauty. But
Actually, the way this award has gone typically is you actually solicit nominations, and then somebody has to take responsibility for collecting those, and then you review them, and nobody has taken the lead
In the past, we had a committee
accepting
that our
the
committee
nominations.
has fallen through.
Right.
Okay, so maybe Richard, Mr. Chairman, we want to focus on our getting together the mayoral debate and
definitely want
not
to keep that.
try to hold our beauty mark process ahead of that. We're down to a short time, and I'm sorry we weren't able to do it sooner, but I don't think we should try to squeeze it in before then at this point, and we have to make a promise to ourselves that we will get it done this year as soon as possible after the election.
You could request, you could have forms, and at the forum,
We could ask for both.
ask for people to submit suggestions.
Okay.
Any gathering we manage to generate, we could discuss things.
Yeah, we can advertise both
Absolutely.
things, but I've been looking for places to nominate. I've been noticing I want to find small yards, small, not necessarily somebody who's spent $100,000 on their landscaping, but somebody who's done a nice job.
Somebody who worked hard to get there.
A real house.
Yeah, I think the fall, did we say the fall would be the business? And then in the spring would be the, I'd have to look back through my notes and so forth, and then the spring would be the homeowners.
Yeah, that's
If it's
what we had
business, I have a
before.
business to recommend to nominate. And I think they've done a really good job at landscaping their grounds and their area.
Care to mention it?
That's not usually how it's done.
Yeah, we don't.
Exactly.
It's usually done privately through those nominations in the committee, and then you announce the winner
Our
publicly.
last one was down.
Unless you want to change, if you want to change how it's done, that's fine. I'm just, because I know you haven't been involved in the past.
No, I think we need to stick with tradition, you know, but I can think of another one as well that I thought, you know,
Well,
several months ago that I was going to bring it up.
This is making me crazy. I don't know what. I need to see an example
Free
so
it
I can
open.
start contributing as well.
It's not your yard,
Well, it's not mine.
or mine.
Uh,
Okay, well,
Somebody who's breaking the bank in Monte Carlo with their water bill this month.
Well, we all are.
But perhaps, like Aubrey said, maybe we should concentrate on getting the forum behind us, and then we'll still have time before the end of the year to present an award after we
Yeah.
do that. We can focus on, because I don't think really if you know, get it organized, it's not that big of a
Right.
problem, or if it doesn't take up a large chunk of time. It's just a matter.
Well, this will probably help me. I've heard a few of the previous awards. So, can you think of any previous awards that I haven't heard about?
Dragon's Lair, Boyd
Right.
Law Firm, the
Yeah.
Lacuna Building.
The restaurant down at the end,
Was it
Fayetteville?
Tetai?
Just time
Tetai.
down
Uh-huh.
on college. Or school,
And
actually.
Those are all businesses, right?
yes, it was
Correct.
traditional, it was given to businesses in the past.
So
It
it's-
was in 2010 that you decided to do both a residential and a business.
And we
and
never
we
get a
just
resident.
haven't
Yeah.
awarded it yet.
But I think that's really important because we are the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods, you know, and
Right.
I think if a neighborhood or
That's why we
people
decided to do
yeah,
that,
exactly,
because we
to recognize.
Has there been one
No,
since?
hadn't been an
that was decided?
individual since 2010. There hadn't been anybody since 2010.
Right?
That
Tip Tie was the last
Tip Tie
one.
was the last one.
Well, okay, there's something to think about.
You need to form a committee to do that.
I do. I haven't got enough people to do another committee at
Bushy.
this time.
I think we're all on it.
So how about, let's worry about the mayoral
yeah,
forum, and
we can form a committee.
maybe next month we can see about a committee for our beauty mart.
If we don't move right along, you won't have time for our chair report that's on here. Neighborhood updates. Anybody got things to brag about from your neighborhoods?
Other than the fact it's hot and we're using a whole lot of city water to keep our plants alive.
And our animals.
And our animals.
Keeping them indoors.
I got a mister for mine, my dogs.
Are we going around the room or you want us just to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, and Rhonda's already left, but we've already had conversation about this. Out in Claver Creek, we two issues that we are working on, and that I know people have heard me say this before, that I keep talking about the trail, but we've got just a very small trail out in Claver Creek that's not connected to the rest of the trail system, and there's reasons for that. But we're stepping up our efforts to work with everyone that we, or all those that are involved in making this happen. Our goal is first of all to be connected to the rest of Fayetteville trails, and then to have lighting out there, because we have a lot of people, especially since it is so hot, that they start walking, you know, just as it's getting dark, and it's too dark for people to go down that trail. It's very, very dark there. And also the third thing in connection with our trail is we would like to have another bench, and I've talked with Connie Edmondson about this before, getting another bench down at the other end of the trail, because we do have some people that are, not that our neighborhood is well-rounded in terms of age-wise and so forth, but it would be helpful if we had a bench down. We only have one at this point in time. So, but we've been asking for this for over 6 years to really try to get our area expanded, our trail system expanded. One of the problems, I think, is as far as some of the monies that comes in, I think it's somewhat tied, and don't quote me on this, but it's somewhat tied to if you have a park area, you know, and which we don't. But we do have an area that could be turned into a small park area, but however, it's got a detention pond on there. So I was trying to do some research in terms of those detention ponds.
Pond be a park.
Well, now, we're going to pursue that because that is a good area for the whole neighborhood to come together with our annual events, because we absolutely have no place for annual events like the usual Easter egg roll, or you know, for the children and so forth. There's no area for us to meet except, you know, closing off some of the streets.
How far are you
Some
from the
activities.
golf course?
Fairly far. You can still walk there, but it's not convenient at all.
I've been at Easter egg events there.
Oh, the golf course out on Ripple?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. No, that's, you know, all of us that,
It's pretty fur-peaked.
yeah, our system doesn't even connect to that, because our trail is right by the Claver Creek area there. So that's one area. And then another issue that we need to pursue as well is, and I don't know if other people are having the same problem as well, is with our street signs. When the winds are so incredibly strong, that just as soon as we get one street sign up, you know, it starts falling over or whatever. Not the post itself, but the sign, the name of the street, where it connects to the post. And the winds are so incredibly strong out there that I know on my street alone, they've had to replace them maybe 2 or 3 times within the last 6 years. So I don't know, we just need, I guess in saying all that, we need stronger, the signs need to be made out of stronger material or stronger signs, or the way they're connected, or I don't know what the issue is, but the problem is that, you know, they don't hold up to the winds out there. So that's our two major areas of things that we're pursuing in the Clap Creek area.
Well, thinking about your connectivity of your trails, I haven't, my geometry is not perfect, but I'm thinking about that nice crossing that they've made for Garland. It's now possible to go under Garland without having a grade crossing for a trail. So,
Where in Garland?
by the Agri Park.
I don't know, I go through there all the time, I don't know of any.
It hasn't
No.
completed yet.
It hasn't been
It's
completed.
not
It's
open.
gonna
It hasn't
be,
been-
No.
right.
in the next month, I believe,
See,
they
everybody
are
keep-
anticipating the ribbon cutting for, it'll be the Meadow Trail,
Yeah.
Meadow, yeah.
So that,
And it goes actually under 540.
Yeah, it'll go under.
It'll
But
get you
eventually-
Did they
closer,
get their
right.
permit?
It connects to Mount Comfort. That
Did
is,
they got their permit to go under
so
40?
I think
Yes,
but that's-
connectivity
Okay.
is being
I didn't
developed.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. Every time I bring this up, people mention that. Clapper Creek is way far down the road, 3 miles down the road.
Yeah.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with Clapper Creek.
True,
I
but-
mean, because
But if you're
ours,
gonna be connected, you have to somehow get to the other trail system.
all you have to do is connect from Rupel, the Rupel Road system there, bring it either under or over to connect to Clapper Creek and on around.
well, this trail
So-
will be connecting to Mount Comfort, which is actually very close.
Well, that would
It'll
be.
connect to the bike lanes at Mount Comfort, which
Well,
is south of
If we had,
you.
because, okay, here is Mount Comfort Road. The trail system is way back here on Clapper Creek. So what y'all are talking about will affect the trail system along Mount Comfort, but not the Clapper Creek trail system.
Well, it can connect with an on-street or something at some point.
Yeah, it will go
Yeah.
down this direction on Rupel or Salem, and then somehow connect into ours.
Yeah, that is on the master plan, is
Yeah.
that, in that roundabout way, but if
Yeah.
they're on, their bike lanes or something like that, then
Yeah.
that would provide some
Yeah.
connectivity. At least they're getting closer.
At least they're
Well,
getting
but
under
we've heard that for
540.
6 years.
Well,
That's the thing. We
If you
had
live
bicyclists
almost in
there.
Tiny
but-
Town, maybe your connectivity needs to go that way, because, you can't really get places any closer together.
Well, I think you have to see the area and so forth for it to make sense, because that whole, if you want to get a mile in, then you have to walk down and then walk down again, do it back and forth, because it's very, very short trail. And I've been on some of the others in other parts of the city, which is absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy that everybody has those, but we do not. And we're just wanting to know what we need to do to try to get ours expanded in such a way that it will be, we will have the same as the rest of the city. So,
I can speak a little bit to that. I know that a lot of times when large developments, multifamily units or something come through where they have to dedicate something for the parkland ordinance, they look at where they can get land that is in the trail or within a vicinity of what is being planned, because then they don't have to purchase the land. And so that has had some influence on where trails have been built, is where they've been able to get land.
For free.
well, I guess
So
one
that
of the
it's
things,
much more affordable. That is just one, but there
Right.
are lots of things, but that's just one of
Yeah.
the things that they use to determine
Right.
where the trails go.
but, West Fayetteville is a really growing area. I mean, since I've been back here in the last 6 years, it's a really growing area. And so we're hoping that sooner or later, we're going to be able to, they will be able to expand it and so forth. I guess my point is just try to keep it on everybody's mind so it will not
Absolutely.
get lost, because I feel like that we've been talking about this for so many years, and it's hard to understand when you see all this money coming in to refurbish other areas and other trail systems, which is wonderful. I'm not complaining about that at all. It's just that, you know, you're thinking, okay, our day should come at some point, you know, that our trail will get fixed.
Is there a Claver Creek, or is that
Yes,
just
there
a
is a
name?
Claver Creek, and it's right beside Claver Creek. There is really needing some area, there's one area when they built the trail that it's really dips down if it rains. You know, you have to walk around it in the grass or in the weeds.
Because it gets flooded
so
out.
with the-
Is that the kind of trail you visualize as something that's associated with a feature like that?
Riparian?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But I would like to pursue the area as far as the detention pond is concerned as well, because that whole area there is a perfect area for us to establish like a small park area where people could come and sit, or the kids could meet or play basketball or whatever the case might be. But anyway, I don't want to take up all the time to talk about Claver Creek's issues, but those are issues that we are going to be pursuing. So we'll keep bringing it up, and maybe our time will come.
Okay, any other neighborhood doings, reports? Already you're being awfully quiet.
Well, I always pour my heart out online, as you refer to.
Yeah.
Pictures of everything, good, bad, and ugly, and in between.
Are you riding herd on North Garland and all the trees?
Where's North Garland? Oh, you mean,
Widening North
no,
Garland?
I try not to look down that street, because that street was everything that,
It's kind of like looking down 265.
it was a
I go through
progressive,
there all the time.
it was a progressive street, the way it was. You had this big wide swale to carry the storm water, not in a pipe. And potentially some really beautiful yards. Some people had better trees, more beautiful plants and stuff. But now we're gonna have a boulevard all paved, and the storm water will go real fast out of that area. And somebody at the end of where it ends will get flooded more. That's what happens. So I try not to look down there. I know they're working on it. I made pictures in the past of what it looked like. But I just, on the south side of the hill where I live, there's so many projects going on, I don't have to go over the other side of the campus to see the horrors. But yeah, the Rocher Heights, where the old nursing home was, that's being all cleared to the, and there is a possibility that some of the native plants will be saved and used in the landscaping, and they will be protecting a little bit of it. But when a development comes, they can't protect very much because they're maximizing their use of the land. And I think they have underground water detention, and that's always, you wonder what's going to happen, because anyway, I won't go into any more of that. But we're losing some more beautiful natural areas just when we've been making the emphasis to have more wildlife habitat protected in the city, natural yards and all these things. But we're losing one small development of 10 to 20 acres can take out more than homeowners can save, you know, in many, many yards. So those are the kinds of things that I can't forget about. So
Yeah.
I'll shut up.
This is a really good 3 or 4 week period of the year, this year especially, to get out there on your trail and take a look at what you value, and it's shape. It's all, you know, that's what everybody is searching for these days.
Bring a rolling cooler.
I've got some issues with some places where I go where people park their cars under trees so they won't be so hot in there, and they don't realize what they're doing to the tree by compressing the root system. But quality of life in your neighborhood, take a look at what you want to be around on a day like today. You want to be around a water feature maybe, a stream, maybe a wetlands, you know. You want to be in the shade. So it's a good idea to try to work together to preserve those things as best we can. That's the chair report. Now we've got to move on to the new business, agenda for July meeting.
Were there any more neighborhood
I
updates?
have one update, I'm sorry. And I'll keep this real quick.
There's no rush, take your time.
Well, the project on corner of Cleveland and Hall is going forward, and I definitely don't want to get into discussing the merits of that either way.
Cleveland and Hall, right.
And the one thing that some of the neighbors now towards the bottom part of the hill are concerned about is there's going to be a lot of street improvements all the way down Cleveland, because that's a collector street all the way down from Cleveland through Sang all the way to Weddington. But there's not going to be any improvements to Weddington. So one of the things that are, not Weddington, I'm sorry, to Sang. Sang Avenue, there's no road improvements from there. So it's great that the traffic's going to move smoothly down Cleveland, but what happens when it hits Sang?
Bottlenecks when it hits Sang.
Right, that's one thing that our neighborhoods just in that general specific area are concerned about, are they?
Well, we heard from Sang Valley quite a bit whenever there was an ordinance that was up a month or two ago, which is the other side of that same coin,
Right.
same passage. Anything they do to improve Cleveland is going to be a major undertaking. That's a really steep road.
And they are preparing to do the improvements. That was one of the conditions of approval for Project
Are
Cleveland.
they moving utilities?
They're going to be, I believe.
It's going to be pretty extensive because they're doing quite a bit of traffic calming efforts as part of the conditions of this project.
On Cleveland?
Mm-hmm. And I actually talked to the developer since it's been approved, and because somebody had given me the suggestion of them having a crossing guard for the students while it's under construction, and he loved that idea. So.
Oh, for the elementary school?
Yeah, when the sidewalk's under
They
construction.
need one.
Yeah, and he
Don't
loved
they
that
have
idea.
that?
So I think
They have
that's.
at least two, maybe three, don't they, already?
Yeah, but when the project is under construction and that sidewalk is torn up, they're going to have to cross during that construction period.
You'll have to have them on the other side of the street coming down, so it'll have to be kind of a double protection. Over more than what they normally have.
So at least, yeah, there are things being discussed, but yeah, there's going to be quite a bit of improvement to that street in that area.
Small nightmare.
Yeah.
Temporarily, hopefully.
Well, has anybody counted how many new developments are going on with the mile of the campus? I mean, it's a pretty big number. They're either about to start or.
Of course, we had an estimate of 4,500 incoming freshmen, which will be looking for places to live off campus about the time a lot of these finish. So that's something to consider too.
Enrolled freshmen, 4,500.
I believe that was the estimate I was given, yeah, by when we were setting up for the orientation.
Well, your development should be about ready over by the cemetery, right? They went right up with
They're
that.
planning to be ready by August 15th. Yeah.
Wow.
I like the way you call it his development.
He's been there at every step of the development.
You guys may have noticed that the television station, two of them, I think, finally noticed after Memorial Day, when we had the first big crowd since the construction started. And the cameras caught these buildings popping up back there. And so apparently, after the fact, the reporters asked people what they thought. And it was the same thing that a lot of people expressed before at the 2.5 years ago when it was proposed, but the TV stations didn't come out and say anything.
Worry about it then, yeah.
Well, they said they did a little coverage back then, but then they forgot about it and they didn't get out for the latest round. So it was very interesting. One of the young ladies said, "Well, people are pretty unhappy about all this happening over there." And the other one said, "Yeah, I don't think we've heard the last of this." Well, the last of it, it's gone. It's happened. You know, you can't take it back. So.
Well, I don't think it'll be the last of it either. I think
Well,
we're going
people will
to
be
continue to have more
unhappy.
growth. So,
Well, that many people living that closely in that area is bound to generate businesses. right there beside it, so,
Businesses.
yeah,
Where?
restaurants, food stores.
Oh, there's, yeah, there.
So it's a dynamic that's affecting all our neighborhoods. I just-
Self-perpetuating, right?
Well, I would just hope that people would come to our meetings and keep the discussion lively.
Yeah, we've had that.
Yeah, we hope you will continue to come in. We like having a representative from the university here every time. And I don't know if we officially
We
last
had
year.
a student from the student government. I believe her unofficial title, or her title was the off-campus liaison.
What happened
Is that Lacey?
Lacey, I think she got really busy with classes, and that is a
Okay.
problem with a lot of the students is, and Cody Keys, who was the one that came
Yeah.
before, that he was getting through finals, and so yeah, it's difficult a lot of times for
Yeah.
students to work this.
Once the fall starts, the liaison will begin attending again. I met with the ASG president and we talked about, we felt the need to continue that, so that'll be something that will
Good.
start.
Yeah, so maybe there's a,
Great.
maybe there's just a little book satchel that you could hand off to the next person and kind of keep the thing going that way.
Yeah, we appreciate your coming, and you do get to vote on things, whoever represents the university.
Yes,
Just
there's
like
an
your
official member
neighborhood.
seat.
So we need to talk a minute about our agenda next time.
I think we created some.
July meeting, decide moderator, question analysis committee, I have that jotted down.
So the mayoral forum will stay on
Mayoral
the
forum.
agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All the doings
All
that
of
go
yours.
along with it, yeah.
Should we revisit the town and gown issue after the ordinance is passed? Or wait
We
a couple
can.
months?
Yeah,
I don't
like
know,
it.
I mean, I don't know what more there
That's
will
why, maybe wait a couple months. But
be. Maybe just announce,
Yeah.
remind
we
people.
could advertise it.
yeah.
Absolutely, because at that point, we will know when we're going to be advertising for those citizen,
Positions.
those committee member seats.
Ms. Peters, maybe there'd be an opportunity to talk to some of your neighborhood folks and keep an idea current, hear from you again next time. Kind of people start deciding how they visualize the trail connecting or developing locally.
Well, it's already on the master plan.
It is on the
isn't it?
master
Yeah.
plan, yeah. And she's right, it's not a direct shot, it is
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
out of the way. But I would hope that there would be on-street connections. I know that's why they added, or they worked on that with Mount Comfort, is because there are alternatives. But you're right,
Because they were dealing with that Macklovich, weren't they?
I don't remember.
It sounded like you would have been happy if it just lengthened, so you didn't have to go back over the same.
Well, actually, you can lengthen it further west, because it just stops right there in the middle of our neighborhood. And there's like several new neighborhoods in the last 6 years that have sprung up
Yeah.
along Mount Comfort. So you can lengthen it, out
But they just
further
have to-
west.
You don't have a bunch of terrain problems out
Easement.
there, it's all pretty.
I don't think so, nothing that couldn't be overcome, I don't think.
Now, single-family developments, things like that, they are not required by
Yeah.
parkland ordinance to dedicate land or money.
Yeah.
So that would have probably happened if they had that stipulation of or something, because it's just for large developments or multifamily over a certain size. So they didn't have that negotiation or that land opportunity, I believe, in probably most of that area that you're talking about west of where you are.
Yeah, so some of that would be hard to get easements, you'd have to pay people for them.
Yeah,
But
you'd actually have to pay for
it's the
land.
same, as our neighborhood in terms of housing and so forth. So if that's the case, then we don't have any hope that it's going to be any better, because that will be the end of it, I guess.
I
There's
believe
no other
Clapper
place that it
Creek
could
was
go.
done as a planned zoning district. Am I?
I'll have to look at it again
I
and
believe
see,
it
so-
was.
Was it a PZD?
I think so.
I lived in Salem Village.
I
Was it
think-
in Salem Village or Clapper
No,
Creek?
Clapper
I think they were just in
Clapper Creek
LSD.
too.
Uh-huh.
Were they?
I
Okay.
think so.
You may be right.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, I know that is it 2013 Parks and Recreation, the grant proposal that they're talking about, it has room in it for acquisition. That can be with
Absolutely.
lands and outdoor park recreations. And I went to that meeting, that's one thing I spoke for was trail systems on the west side of town.
Plus,
on
we
the
are
other
paying
side.
4% on that, so
Right,
it's part of the tax,
right.
Yeah,
trail system.
it went.
It's a reimbursement.
Yeah, and I don't think it was. I think it ended at a certain point, didn't it?
It's not over yet, is it?
The proposal's due, I believe, in August.
Okay.
I think is when they said it was. I talked to Connie Edmondson about it the other day, but that was definitely a possibility that they
Right.
could use part of the funds for, because it's for outdoor parks and recreations, trails, and acquisition of land for that could be included. And so I asked
Yeah.
them to consider that.
Well, we've had discussions about that, and we're still at the point where we are,
Right.
you know, so I guess that's our point, is that, you know, we're still here, everything's
Yeah, they
still
can't
the
use
same.
the money for
So,
maintenance, but they can
yeah.
use it to acquire and build.
Right.
Right.
Now the master trail plan, I believe it has a goal of 100 miles. It's been in works for, I want to say 9-10
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, somebody correct me,
At least.
right.
And we are just starting to cross that 20-mile mark, so we've got another 80 miles to go. So I know the Gully Park neighborhood. I used to live out there, and we were always, when are we going to get connected?
Yeah.
Now they
So
got some
I understand.
Right.
It's the east to west are not as easy
Yeah.
for the city to, I think, haven't been as easy to maneuver or acquire.
Because a big strip of
But
asphalt
they
down.
are a priority. They really are. They are. I hear that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I guess that the one thing, not to belabor the point and make this all about Clever Creek's Trail here, but what was I saying? You know, for the average person, the resident out there that hears of other monies being, you know, that we've received all these other monies and monies are going into these trails that are already established and so forth to refurbish them or to do whatever. It just, you know, it makes the person that really doesn't understand the requirements that are in those grants, that money that you do get is for a particular purpose. So when you have a trail that's like half a mile long, and you hear of all this money being received and all this work done on other trails, then it kind of you think, well, what about us? You know, what about ours? When are we going to get money to, you know, extend ours? So anyway, I don't want to, you know, let this be a, you know, Clabber Creek meeting or anything about our trail system, but.
Well, from what I understand about this organization, Council of Neighborhoods, it's a forum. And it sounds like some people are getting a kind of a back channel conversation going here about where the funding is and what might be appropriate. And that's golden. That's very valuable use of time, especially for this particular committee. So.
If we could just get in the meantime until, you know, all this can be worked through, or tell us, you know, if it's just going to end there and that's where it's going to be,
Right.
and then, you know, that's the reality we have to live with. But
think
right
it's
now,
all
what
about-
we'd like to have is some lighting there, so we could walk during the evenings.
I think it's all about, you know,
Okay.
continuing to make the case and not being
Might be.
afraid to keep saying this is
Right.
what we need.
Yeah.
Well, on the trail thing, if I may, Mr. Chairman, we have a different problem in Southville, but there's a big discussion going on of how to cross MLK and talked about a flyover kind of place, tunnel under there, which costs lots of money, and then a bridge across the Spout Spring branch into Walker Park. And that was routed at 9th Street, which is based on bringing it off of the sale bar's property and then going straight across and cut through some beautiful woods and riparians on Spout Spring. And several people have had objections in some way to different parts of this. And one thing the highway department's not excited, or Highway Commission, about putting money into either a tunnel or a bridge over. And that's
Or the
understandable.
railroad. Or the railroad.
Or the railroad, you're saying?
Because you have to get them to be part of this too, because you're gonna have to cross the railroad somewhere in there.
I thought it was staying east of the railroad.
Or is it all staying, is all staying to the east of the railroad?
I haven't followed the project.
there
At
is-
one point it was, but I don't know if that's
So you're
still.
gonna connect that Frisco Trail to that, right?
Well, yeah, the trail from Razorback Road will come through the tunnel. Existing tunnel has to be cleaned out, and that's gonna be city expense. I hope it's cleaned, coming with the help of the railroad. But they didn't get the money from the developers to do it, didn't have them do it up front. But in the other direction, going to the east, there is an existing bridge at the end of Church Avenue, where the ambulance service operates. Used to be one of the student facilities.
Yeah, there is a bridge back there.
Adult, yeah, and it's just blocked off by a fence, and it's a corner, and it would easily, I think they'd have to give up 3 actual parking places inside the big lot at that facility, and it's already publicly owned. Not sure if the school system owns it, or who actually owns the land that they're using for that. But anyway, it's got a public right-of-way connected to it. And that would be very inexpensive to use that bridge. And it's up to standards for most things. Now, I don't know about driving the park department's trucks across it, but since it wouldn't be necessary, you don't have to come a long distance on a trail from the street to get there. One side's a parking lot, one side's a parking lot at the end of the street. So you've got about 50 or 60 feet of street or existing concrete to get to it. So it saves hundreds of thousands of dollars if you use an existing bridge. And somebody, I think, thought, well, that's, we want to use all that park money for the park or trail. But the money is dedicated to the trail system. So if you save money on part of a trail by using an existing bridge, and you don't tear up more woods and shoreline to put in a new bridge, only 100 yards apart, by the way, then you've got more to extend several blocks of trail in another place.
In Clabber Creek.
In Clabber Creek. And JP's not here, but there's another source of routing some money to something else. So you should all look at that trail plan if you have an opportunity to, and see what the possibilities are. Now, I think the time for public submissions may be over, maybe ended this week, but I'm sure you can bend somebody's ear with your comments if you look it over yourself and see what you see in it can be improved. Richard, I make a motion we adjourn.
Well, I would like to charge each of us left standing here to put some thought into syntax around the beauty mark award. Somehow we can soften the negative attitudes that come out because of that word choice. Not that we're going to make some enormous change, maybe, but somehow focus on the beauty and move away from the mark part. Might be helpful. We have an adjournment suggestion?
I made a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor of adjourning?
Let's go.
Aye.
Stand adjourned.